Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to settle the argument we were having after we reviewed one of these whiskeys. What is the best independent bottling of Laphroaig that we know
That's a
of?
good question, Mike.
So what we have here today is the, well, not known, but renowned among whiskey people, signatory cask strength, Laphroaig 16, 59.9%, bottled in 2015. And then we have also the 22-year-old Director's Cut from Elixir Distilleries, which went previously by a different name. This one comes in a little bit smaller of an ABV, 52.6. But both Oloroso sherry cask maturation, single cask, very low bottle counts, 500 on this one, a couple hundred on this one. I can't remember exactly sure, but I'll put the details below. These are definitely two of our more popular favorites, independent bottling.
Definitely the best of the sherried ones, I think.
Best of the sherried ones, yeah.
There's probably some bourbon casks we probably have to get into at some point. But
better way to put it. Okay, so we have the 22 Director's Cut and 16, both cask strength, represented the exact same here, right here. So we got the 22 and the 16. What we'll do is we'll start off with the older one since it's lower ABV, and then we'll move into the 16, Dustin.
All right.
So both of these are heavy Oloroso, what we believe to be Oloroso sherry cask maturations. So what is different for this one is you're getting tobacco, mint, milk chocolate.
This is much chocolatier, I think, but this is very heavy chocolate, meaty right off the bat. Kind of like brisket meets a little soy sauce, meets a little bit of just some kind of like a beef jerky or something.
The Laphroaig's there, the Laphroaig smoke. But that's really the most recognizable Laphroaig note from this. I mean, it's very cask-driven. And the main thing you know is just that Laphroaig smoke in the background. But then there's also wood smoke and just that heavy sherry cask
That's that
maturation.
classic powdered sugar thing I get on a lot of core Laphroaigs and, a couple other Islas. But definitely, like, Laphroaig cartridges tend to give me a little bit of powdered sugar.
Very nice nose. Beautiful, really. You know,
a little bit of olive.
Mint.
Definitely mint, yeah.
And that's a beautiful tobacco note that kind of sachets into a light vanilla.
It's a slightly smoked tobacco. It's not a super like fresh leaf, I think.
Beautiful nose. I'd say maybe a 91 on the nose. Beautiful, well-rounded, old, smoky Isla nose.
It's old, but yet it's got a lot of boldness. The cask really come through oak-wise. Yeah, I mean, it's real solid. I don't know if I'd go 91 here, Mike, but it's very nice. Very complex, but maybe not well integrated.
I can see it. All right, moving along to the 16, signatory. Definitely more aggressive on the nose. You get a lot of the same notes, but they're severely amped up in this one.
Yeah, way less of the umami, less of the chocolate.
Yes.
But much more barbecue.
Barbecue, more medicinal, smokier. More tobacco.
The alcohol difference is staggering between the two.
Shocking. Yeah, I think it's 52.6 and 59.9. I mean, 59.9 is big regardless for a Scotch. But yeah, it comes off far punchier than the 22.
Yeah, comparatively, this is actually giving me a lot of vanilla notes, which I don't think I initially picked up on. Whereas this is heavy chocolate, this is vanilla.
There was a ridge of vanilla kind of at the end with the smoke note, but there is a ton more in this one for sure.
I don't even know if we mentioned vanilla when we reviewed this one, but again, doing the comparison as far as the back and forth, this is definitely more vanilla-y, more a little bit of glue comparatively as well, whereas this one's a little bit more. This is way more tobacco, more old wood, old leather chair, just smoking room.
Yeah, a little more spice with this one. This one's the 22 is definitely more complex.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more complexity for sure on the 22. Mind you, I don't remember kind of raving and ranting about the nose on the 16 initially either. That's not really where this one
shined.
It's not where it separated itself.
But not that it wasn't a good nose. I mean, both of them are really, 90, 91 noses, right in both there in that area.
Yeah, I will say we poured these kind of light this time around with these, and I think a little more alcohol in here does kind of help bring out the notes here.
Pour more, buddy.
And I think that's because again the 59 versus 52. 59 sometimes needs a little more of the liquid to kind of help you get past the alcohol.
Yeah, it's a lot of smoke gathering right there at the bottom. All right, So I'm going to go in for the taste. I'm
Yeah.
going to do the director's cut 22-year-old first.
Yeah, I am starting to pick up the medicinal notes here more so than this one as well. So again, much more classic, bold, punchy Laphroaig. If you're a Laphroaig tin fan, this is definitely more your style. If you are more into, like, say that, not the most recent cartridge, but the one before that, that PX one, that's more you. But honestly, Laphroaig doesn't do a lot of official bottles. This is almost maybe more like a Lore, if Lore was older and much, much, much richer in that regard.
It's the side of the fork you never see. So yeah, on the palate, chocolate, liquid smoke, beautiful coal, and I mean a nice cold nut. And as soon as you swallow, huge smoke, huge tobacco, stinging chocolate on the side, beautiful whiskey. I think I gave this a 91 initially. That's probably in my mind. I'm right about there. That lingers so good with that smoke, tobacco, mint.
Fall leaves and apple cider, Mike.
Yeah, there is some spice to it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mention. I mentioned on the nose down the pace, but you're right. There's a good amount of cinnamon spice, and that's not a stretch to say cinnamon apple.
Yeah, I'm getting a little hint of sourness in a good way. Apple cider, little nutmegs now coming through. Now look, I mean, Mike, you nailed all the obvious stuff here. I mean, it's Laphroaig, it's 22 years old, It's a sherry butt. It's going to have all those leathers and smoke. So I'm just trying to pick out things that I think are distinct about this particular bottle. Apple cider. A little bit of a hint of vinegar, maybe even kicking in there, just a hint, and it's doing it. It's adding a little extra complexity. Very nice mouthfeel. That's always where I've been a little
Critical.
critical. This one has spice, so it's bold.
And you like spice.
I do, but it's bold. It fills your mouth up with all that, and I love the spice here on this. But spice is not richness and oiliness and creaminess, and that's something I look for. The proteins, the creaminess, kind of a little subdued, a little subtle here. A little lacking for what I want in a ultra premium whiskey.
I would say I agree with the oiliness, but again, this goes back to something I've mentioned many times when we've talked about Laphroaig. I love Laphroaig, as you know. It's a thin whiskey. It's not as dense of a whiskey as Ardbeg and Lagavulin. I think I mentioned that to you multiple times.
Agree with you.
It's a smokier whiskey in a lot of ways, but that aromatic smoke is thin. Laphroaig's can be very thin, and I think when you compare the spirit next to the density of these casks, it becomes more obvious. You know, I mean,
you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, I think Laphroaig, they use the 10, the 18, the 25, the way they mix their casks, it's not as obvious. You know, it's not a super oily, dense whiskey like Laphroaig and Ardbeg, but this heavy cask maturation, it kind of highlights it, and I don't know if I need that reminder.
But I always go back to this, Mike. When I get excited about a Laphroaig, for example, the 25, the one I picked, the 2018 is my favorite. Why? Because it gave me that most oiliness of it. That's what got me excited.
52%.
Yeah.
At 52%.
Really
You're right.
did it.
You're right. The oiliness part, it has nothing to do with how dense the whiskey is as far as the feel of the spirit itself. And you're right. Comparatively, it's not here in the 22. That's a good pickup. All right. Going to the 16.
Let's go for that. But anyway, I mean, it's really nice, well structured, well balanced. But again, it's just kind of missing on a few little areas. I prefer to see a little more oomph. You know, it's hard to be too critical. These are excellent whiskeys, obviously.
Critical is what we do. We're comparing Jordan to LeBron. Wow, that's such a bigger, punchier whiskey, man. Wow. That is light you up. Man, that is huge, bold tobacco, chocolate. You will not forget that taste, ever. That is scorched earth right there, my friend. Char, barrel char, and the beef brisket char, all rolled up into smoky mint tobacco that has just a glorious Laphroaig background, just steaming smoke everywhere. And the end is just pure chocolate, 30% chocolate and 70% tobacco.
Yeah.
That's an impressive palate. It's an impressive finish.
Got an analogy for you here, Mike.
Give it to me.
This guy right here, this is Scottie Pippen.
Elegant, nothing wrong in his
Does
game.
everything.
Everything.
He dribbles, he passes, he can shoot well enough, he can score, he can go to the post, he can go on the outside.
Just not oily enough.
Huh?
Just not oily enough.
Hey,
on this one.
His 3-point shot was only like 30%, you know?
Yep.
It wasn't quite good enough. But,
Small
he can still shoot it.
Yes.
This is Shaq. No, he ain't shooting free throws. He ain't shooting threes.
Don't need to.
He's not dribbling. But
Don't
man,
need to.
He's going to back you down. He's got a hook shot. He's got that little sweet touch. He's got the little kiss off the glass. And he's going to dunk on anyone.
He owns the rim. and everything around it. This owns the palate.
You're going inside against Shaq, you're going to get hurt. Yep. You're going to stop Shaq, you're going to get hurt.
You come unprepared for this Laphroaig 16, you're going to suffer the consequences.
At the end of the day, Mike, let's go in before. Let's check out what water did here. Just like a quick one. But
So I'm going to give a quick synopsis. On the palate, I slightly prefer this one to this one. I slightly prefer the 22 to the 16. On the palate, an overwhelming preference of the 16 over the 22, which is sad because this is a 90 at worst on the palate. This is that impressive on the palate. But again, I think we both give this a tick higher independent score.
Water just brought the noses back much closer. Initially, I was going to say, the nose isn't a lot better on that 22. But you know what? After I just dropped the water. I didn't do much.
Yeah, it's just cocoa powder, isn't it? Cocoa powder and tobacco.
Yeah. No longer is that the alcohol overwhelming and keeping me from enjoying all the beautiful notes here.
It's still an obvious wallop more.
Oh, it is.
Like you said, it was a shocking amount difference in alcohol. I mean, for only being 8, 7.5.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you're drinking a 40% and a 60% or almost on the nose.
It's like you're drinking a beer. It's like you're drinking a beer and a whiskey almost. A Canadian whiskey, maybe.
You ever had somebody like hand you like a can of beer like after you've been drinking whiskey, like not that day, but like in the past, and like you go to the can, you start catch yourself nosing it, or like nosing water, and you're like, what the hell am I doing?
What am I doing?
It's almost that big a difference.
It's substantial. Yeah, one comes off cast strength, and one comes off.
This is like chocolate tobacco smoke now.
35.
Milk chocolate tobacco smoke.
Yeah, it's a beautiful nose on the 20.
I've actually had a cigar recently that actually kind of reminded me of that. Very sweet tobacco. Like the wrapper just came off really sweet, and the tobacco was just there.
To give the 22 a pro, it's more approachable. You could definitely spin it that way. If I was writing a review and I was trying to be complimentary of the point, it's more approachable.
It is definitely a more approachable whiskey.
It's still big. That's saying something when this is so much bigger of a wallop than this, which is already a big wallop.
The thing is, for me, is this is a whiskey that if you told me it was 48%, I'd believe you all day. I would believe you ordered it to 48.
Compared to this, maybe.
In general, I've always felt that way. Is that this one just didn't have the oomph.
All right.
That's where I've always, we've differed on this particular bottle, and I'm still there today. It's well put together. It's well constructed.
It does not
beautiful.
have the oomph of the 16, for sure.
Well, the 16 is like, all right, what'd you do to it? This isn't whiskey. What'd you do? Did you freeze it and remove something? Did you find us? Did you go and bury this in India for 6 months to give it like an extra little bit of alcohol kick? What'd you do? Come on, you cheated.
It's a big bang.
Oh, now I'm getting like Jolly Ranchers comparatively. It's that much redder, sweeter. The sherry's bigger here. Which was this is first fill, isn't it? Or does it not say? It just says sherry butt. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This says refill. I don't think it's a first fill. I think it's a refill. I would guess, but
color's pretty darn close on both.
Yeah.
This one might be a hair darker.
It is.
And given the fact that it's also a little lower proof, maybe it's a less used.
I don't know. My guess on both of these was second fill Oloroso.
Yeah.
It's just a guess.
And you shouldn't see much change in color, assuming the same cask after 16 versus 22. It's, and it's that first year in the sherry cask does most of the color activity anyway. Not all, but most. Man, this is candied, whereas this is complex chocolates. Mm-hmm. And I know, this is fruity candies, this is chocolates, this is smokier, more tobacco. Mm-hmm. Well, as far as what you're picking up, the differences, what you focus on.
Two fun whiskeys, man. I hadn't thought of comparing them until we did the 16. But two fun whiskeys.
Oh, man. I love this whiskey.
It's a more fun whiskey for sure.
I would have rather compared this to the Lagavulin 25-year-old.
If you want to drink the Lagavulin 25, just say you want to drink the Lagavulin 25.
No. What I'm getting at is, remember we did the 91 series, right? All sherry Lagavulins.
I remember.
This feels like it should have been in that comparison.
Maybe it will be.
Because it has that kind of a profile, like that Lagavulin sherry profile.
This is one of the whiskeys, 10 whiskeys I think of when I think of I want a super impressive whiskey tonight.
Yeah. Whereas this is its own category. This isn't Laphroaig. This isn't Lagavulin. This is just, it's a unique, beautiful, really cool Isla whiskey. This feels like it should be in a comparison. What year is this? This 1991 distillate by any chance? 98.
98. Close.
Are you sure it's not?
Sure it's not. All right, so I'm ready to give my thoughts on this one.
Go for it.
Of these two, I prefer the 16. So the comparison series is always someone's buying
Yeah.
the whiskey. What would you take? They're roughly the same price.
That's crazy.
I would definitely pick this one. I prefer it over this one. Now, I like the nose probably neat, maybe a little bit better on this one. But as far as palate, the palate on this one is so legendary, so memorable that, I would put up against anything as far as a big, bold sherry punch. There is really, other than the nose on this neat, the only thing that I can even compare it to that would be somewhat of a close call. Everything else, this is a landslide victory on this whiskey. If I had to call them whiskey scores right now, call this a 92, maybe even a 93. I'll call this probably a 90, maybe a 91.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm even further apart. I mean, to me, this is at 92, 93, and this is 89, 90. I mean, it's beautiful, it's well done, but I'm just, the mouthfeel in this thing doesn't do it for me. It's balanced, it's well done. There's just something about this just doesn't have the wow factor that it should. And I keep coming back to like, why am I not getting wowed? Because it is so structured, so well done, but it's almost like it was engineered to be right.
It's almost like an Alfa Romeo or a Maserati. Great cars, but am I honestly picking that over a Ferrari?
We are in, so maybe I should give it a 90 just for the simple fact that
It pales in comparison.
it's in the category of like a 90 whiskey, so it should be, but it's just, there's the wow factor's not there. Anyway.
That's not $1,000 bottle of whiskey.
No.
That is $1,000 bottle of whiskey.
That absolutely is, yeah. And yeah, I mean, this is like a Hellcat. It's that just, it does something so incredibly well, so powerful. But they did a lot of stuff to make it, it's not a Hellcat, I don't know. Whatever that race car version of the Camaro is that's out there.
Mine?
No, the more like, the one that's like you wouldn't really want to drive on the street.
Yeah, like, I know what you're talking about. It's like 75 grand, 650 horsepower, whatever.
Yeah, but like the
650.
big difference is also like the suspension on that thing is going to make you kind of just like daily driving it.
Well, yeah, different tires. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah,
of
I mean, it's not meant for daily driving. It's meant for like, I'm going to take it to the track, and every now and then I'm going to go on a country road that I know is well maintained and just rip it. That's what this is.
Yeah.
But it's such a perfect example of that. Whereas this is like, this is not the right comparison, but it's like the old school Miata when it first came out, where like people were like, "Oh my god, it's so balanced, it's perfect, it's the perfect cruiser." Now it's got more power than a Miata. Don't get me wrong. That's why it's not a perfect comparison. I need to find a car a little more powerful.
300ZX.
It's all-wheel drive and that stuff. Anyway, you get my point.
I do. I get your point. All right. So anyway, those are our thoughts on the whiskey.
It's a classic Jaguar without the repair problems.
There you go. Those are our thoughts on these two whiskeys. Guys, get a chance to try any one of these, let us know. I mean, we did the 16 recently. We did the 22 a while back.
Yep.
Both good whiskeys. If you're a Laphroaig fan or a heavy sherry cask influenced Iowa fan, worth picking up or at least trying if you guys can. Both are pretty expensive. Both a limited out turn, but that's what we're working with, Dustin.
Hey, if you want epic sherry in this day and age, it's not cheap.
Nope. Anyway, those are our thoughts on whiskey. Let us know what you guys think if you had a chance to try either one of these. Until next time, Dustin, what do we wish the folks?
Happy drinking.
We'll see you then.